I also did I told you that I had this crush, and then today in the morning today I was becoming aware that I didn't spoke with Holy Spirit about it, and then I share my upsets, and then it helped me to share my upsets because Holy Spirit was like, the answer was laughter. It's like all the time, it's like it's laughing all the time.
Okay, so that's good. So you're able to just laugh at what was previously a difficult emotion.
Yeah, and I think I also thought about, so there's this one friend of me, he's also a Kosomuku student, where we're doing it since some weeks, doing this Vipassana meditation together, and like sometimes he's leading me, sometimes I am leading him. And so I thought about looking at the upsets which are connected with the idea of having a crush. I think there are some emotions need to be released. I didn't. And we looked yesterday at pride. I thought, wow, I wasn't aware how much pride is in me for having this ego identity. It was also revealing.
My observation would be, the crush thing, that it's state of desiring something that you don't have, or is disturbed peace. And particularly on with special relationships, it's designed by the ego to disturb your peace of mind.
Yeah.
You want something from someone that you don't have, and so then there's the desire, but there's the fear that, well, what if I'm rejected? What if my affections are not returned? And all of that moves your mind away from the peace of God. So in the Buddhist teaching, they don't really have much room for romantic relationships. That doesn't really, and same with the Course in Miracles. Jesus is saying, look, these special relationships that you seek for the ego's purposes are not really helpful at all. In fact, they're harming you because they disturb your peace. They foster guilt and fear and attack thoughts. And do you really want these? Because although the world values them, these are just substitutes for the truth of the divine love that you have.
Yeah.
So you make a choice for that, and then that's not to say you don't have relationships, but the relationships become holy. That's the idea, anyway. That instead of, oh, I have a crush, I need you, I'm desiring you, like who's desiring who and why? Instead of that, there's just a recognition that other person is you. Right? I am you and you are me, and I deeply feel that. And so there's an underlying unconditional love, we could call it. Unconditional love. There's a respect, and I don't need anything from you. I just appreciate that you are me and I am you, and we share this source, we share this love, and why can't we just share it together? And it feels pretty good to share it.
Yeah.
That's really what the holy relationship is.
And I also thought about this. So what I learned from this is that, so I want to make the ego tendency is to make the relationship to something it is not, without looking within. And I thought, okay, I want to have a good time now with that person because, like you said, it's part of me. And then the ego is like, oh, that is too much work. Because I can see like I can see some things I'm doing with the person, like I'm learning to be more open and to be more relaxed, to be more trusting. And the ego's way is like saying, oh, you can just have a crush on him, then you can be on cloud 7 without looking within. Like you're on your own bubble.
It's a quick fix. So it's just
quick fix.
But it's a quick fix of it sets you up for long-term pain, unfortunately.
Yes.
Because if you're attached, if you're almost certainly, you see, the more this is how the ego works, the more attached you get to anything, but particularly people, the more likely it is that it's going to hurt you. You get attached, and then the ego go, okay, so now you're nicely attached, and
Nicely
I think this is
attached.
all nicely attached. Now we've got you sucked into the game. Now we're going to create some drama. Now the
Yes,
person's
let's
going to do
create some
something.
drama.
The person's going to do something or say something that you don't like.
Yeah, I will.
And then you're going to react. And then you're going to go, oh, I'm so upset. I feel so hurt. This person's really hurt my feelings. Why don't they love me anymore? Am I not worthy? Am I not good enough? And on it goes. And then you feel, all of that egoic emotion arising very strongly. And so it's a setup. It's setting you up to get you nicely attached into its ways. And it feels like, obviously, it feels good to start doing that, to start going down that path. Because if it didn't, then there would be no attraction to it. So the ego set you up to be attracted to that, to desire it, to think, oh no, this actually feels good. This is good. I want more of this. And so then down we go, down the rabbit hole. So we're like really sucked in and attached. And then it's like, okay, now we've got you nicely attached. Now we're in a perfect position to create lots of drama and lots of interbulation in your mind through this special relationship that you've now created in your mind, because it's a construct of your mind. You've decided on some level, well, this person meets my special needs. And why have you decided that? And who's decided that?
It's like
only the ego could do that.
It's like I'm just repeating how I was looking at my father and my mother.
Yeah. So often that's what we do. We the special relationships in our lives, our romantic partners, are just reflections of our relationships with our parents.
Great. And then with our real parent, our godfather, at the end.
So it's worth, just observing, and then, applying these teachings. My thoughts do not mean anything. Okay, I'm thinking about this, but it doesn't mean anything.
What I really like about my friend is that I can talk with him also about these things. So I could say, I just project onto you that I want that you have to be different so I can be happy. And then we would laugh about it. It's a good thing we can laugh about these things.
Yeah, if someone's on a spiritual path, then you can. So
he's actually not on a spiritual path.
Oh, but he is. Everyone is.
Do you mean it's obvious?
Everyone's on a spiritual path.
Yeah, yes, that's right. That's what that's what you want me to see. Yes, that's right.
That and the fact that you're having a relationship with him and you doing A Course in Miracles, and like, there's obviously, you know what I mean, there's a resonance, there's a connection, there's in some level he's open to it. So then he is. It's just not the same form as you doing. You're doing
that's right.
deep intensive dive into A Course in Miracles and spending hours a day on it. He's not quite there, but that doesn't mean that he's not open.
Yeah, I can feel this open. It's like when I met him the first time, I was like, this will become something important to me. And every time after we talked, something in me opened and I had some spiritual experiences. Like, that's amazing. I think there is a past connection, like student-teacher relationship, because it's like something opens in me, and it's because I gave him the special position of someone who is inspiring to me, and I have to expand it that everyone is inspiring because everyone is me. Yeah. So happy to have this relationship, and I think it happened because I started to do A Course in Miracles. It means I'm starting to open to myself.
Good. So just go with it and keep, relationships are a great tool for growth. So as things come up, you look at them and you let them go. And the holy relationship doesn't happen. It happens because you're working at it. Because, these things arise and then you let them go. And as you do that, you purify your own mind and you purify the relationship. And that's what we're here to do. And it's one of the primary ways you learn these lessons, because there's nothing that quite pushes your buttons like relationships. So just be aware of, that's actually what I'm doing here, is I'm using the relationship to go back to God and to find this pure formless awareness in my own mind, and then bring that pure formless awareness into my experience in this relationship, and extend it to this other person so that they feel it too. And if we both feel it and we merge in that, then there's the holy relationship. It's beautiful. It feels so much more expanded and loving than the special relationship ever could. Okay, so Iona, how are you?
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Iona.
Hi, Katie.
You're looking good and
Thank you.
bright and
Yes.
breezy. Well,
Yes.
how are things going? Anything
All
to
of
share?
these things. It's very breezy outside. It's kind of snowy, cold, windy. Yeah.
No?
Yeah. I woke up this morning and then got right back into bed and just looked at the first 9 lessons.
Okay.
And the lesson in particular, I see nothing as it is now, has really taxed my ego mind that really wants to understand. And even though it keeps saying I'm not meant to understand, it keeps wanting to know. What does it mean? I see nothing as it is now. Really? Yeah, really.
Well, kind of, it breaks I'll tell you what this course does. It actually breaks your intellect. That's what he's trying to do. It's like breaking it on the rock of his logic. So he's going, okay, so you think you're so smart and you've got these, highly developed intellect, and you want to know, okay, so I'm going to give you these simple lessons, just to I see nothing as it is now, a few words really, and I'm just gonna get you to like ponder that. And it's just eventually, if you do it enough, it's like a Zen koan. The idea of the Zen koan is it breaks your intellect. It's like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And you can try and work that out intellectually, and you never will. It's like the whole point is it's an exercise for the mind. It's mind training to go into a space of like, okay, I'm actually willing to, I've just let go of that intellectual mind, of that trying to understand with the intellect, because I never will. And that's kind of what these are doing.
It's good to be reminded. I feel chased
by
my intellect. It keeps nagging at me at the kind of edges. Understand it. Or it produces, what it's done is produced an anxiety, not overwhelming, not enormous, but it's enough to get me out of bed, look at the book, see how many of the first lessons you can remember. And I was blanking left, right, and center.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's not unusual.
Right.
Not unusual.
Yeah. It's almost like I was looking at them over and over. Oh, well, for the first time.
Yeah. The course does kind of have that effect. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Even though you've read them and you've studied them, there was something ordinary. If you were studying arts or something that you're comfortable with, and you go, well, yeah, of course I can remember. Like I've studied that. You've spent a bit of time on it. You've read every day, and you'd think you could remember a few simple sentences, surely. But we don't, because it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, exactly.
Ego doesn't want you to remember. So that's the problem. Is you're dealing with a highly resistant mind that doesn't want you to remember. So it shuts you down and it gets you to forget. And I remember listening to Robert Holden. I don't know if you're familiar with Robert Holden. He's a Course in Miracles teacher.
I know his book.
Yeah. He's a good, a great teacher, and just a very genuine, humble guy. I've met him at a Course in Miracles conference down near London, and so he was speaking at that, and it's quite funny because he's standing there and he's going, well, so my lesson for the day is I rest in God. Okay, so that's 4 words. And he's going, I'm just not remembering it. Why can't I remember this? I rest in and he's just blanking on I rest in God. That's extraordinary.
That's exactly what I'm experiencing at the moment. These thoughts do not mean. What do they mean? What? Oh yeah, they don't mean anything.
They don't mean it. And you go, how can I forget that?
I know.
Yeah.
Are so the voice has got so many different iterations to say something incredibly profound, and it's the simplicity that my intellect is bamboozled by.
Yeah, which is exactly what he's trying to do.
Cool.
You got to understand that the intellect is, yes, he's saying this is the genius of the design of it. He's saying, okay, I understand you got the intellect.
Yes.
Remember, this was designed for highly intellectual people.
Sure.
So Helen and Bill, like, high intellect. These are not stupid people intellectually. They've got psychology degrees. They professors of applied psychology. They understand the mind. They got all this stuff going on. So it's like, okay, well, that's fine. We'll work with that. We'll start you where you're at. You're highly intellectual, so we'll start there. I mean, Helen even said, finally a spiritual path for intellectuals.
Yeah.
But she really struggled with it.
Yes, she did.
She couldn't really accept deeply and emotionally the teaching because her intellect was resisting. Intellect was like, no. Like intellectually, maybe she could get some glimpse of it, but mentally and emotionally, she had huge resistance. She couldn't accept the message truly. So that's in the end what it comes down to. He's trying to take you beyond the level of reason. Let me just share this. Actually, it might be quite useful. Because I don't know if you've seen this. David Hawkins' Scale of Consciousness, Map of Consciousness. Have I showed this to you before? I'm not sure.
Yes,
You might have been.
Yes, I have. But I just want to say something. I thought I had been stripped down once before. But that thought today doesn't mean anything. I thought I'd been on the coal face of I give up, I accept. I am willing.
And that was one level of it, but now it's another cycle. I mean, the hero's journey is saying, well, you can do this multiple times in your life. So this cycle, you've been called again to go there and do it again.
Quite so.
So you've done it once, and then it's like, okay, so yes, there was transformation. You came back, you returned to life. Now it's like, okay, there's another call. Do it again. And if you cycle through this multiple times in your life, every time you go to a higher level. So it's not a one-time thing necessarily. It's like, okay, you'll do a cycle of it, and then you'll come back, and then you might settle for a bit, and then you cycle again. And so, when John messaged you, that was like, okay, right, there's the call to adventure, right?
Yep.
Then you signed up for it literally, and so here you are. And so now it's like, okay, we're going to do this again, Iona, and you're going to go to another level of this.
Yes.
And you thought you understood, but you didn't really understand.
Nope.
And so the spirit's going to say, okay, well, let's go deeper this time. Let's try and take you fully into this abyss of death and rebirth. Can you actually really get rid of Iona, the character, and emerge from this as this transformed mind, really? Because that's all you are. You are just a mind that is aware of its own pure formless awareness, that is able to stay rooted in that place and not go back into the known or Iona and Iona's intellect. And so the intellect is a great tool, and it's helpful if you've got an intellect to do the course, because if you don't have a certain level of intellect, I think you're going to struggle with it, with ideas and the concepts. It's certainly not that easy intellectually. But then don't get stuck there. So he's trying to actually take you through the intellect, as I was showing you here. If you look at the level of reason, reason, understanding, abstraction. Above that is love. Above that lie all these beautiful states: love and peace and joy. I'll just make this a bit. Oh, what happened there? The screen just gone blue. I'm quite sure why that happened.
Blue sky thinking.
Yeah, interesting. See if I duplicate it. Maybe that'll work. Yeah, don't know why it did that. so yeah, above those levels, put it up a bit more. There we go. So you can see it a bit better. Above the level of reason lies really what, you know, these higher states of being, love and joy and peace and enlightenment. And those are not rational states. Reason is not going to take you there alone. Reason is all like a foundation. He's saying that the ability to understand this abstract reasoning, which is really what the course is, this high level abstract reasoning, is a foundation. It's 400. It's a platform for then going higher into love and joy and peace. And he said, you know, he observed that in history there were these great thinkers like Einstein and Newton, Galileo, you know, really intelligent minds, but they didn't go beyond 499, according to David Hawkins, on the scale. They didn't go into love because their intellect was still too involved.
And I was brought up amongst that many people like that. What does the log mean? What do the figures mean?
So what he's done is he's taken kinesiology. I don't know if you know what kinesiology is. So it's just it's a way of muscle testing, and you can measure the strength of a thought through the muscle reaction. And so over many tests, they did thousands of tests with volunteers. They kind of came up with this log scale and put numbers to this. I mean, you could say the numbers are arbitrary. Why is it a scale of 1,000? Why not a scale of 100? Could be, you know, but that's what he's come up with. It's just a way of measuring that energy and saying, okay, so, you know, what are the levels of this? So you're still dealing within time and space and the ego because it's got levels. But the levels, understanding the levels can be helpful as a tool for self-awareness. Okay, so where am I at? If I'm in anger, if I'm angry, then, you know, I'm at 150. You know, be aware of that. That's below the level of 200, which is the breakthrough into positive consciousness.
Oh, got you.
Positive awareness. So it can be used as a tool for awareness, and then also as a way of helping you to transform. So you go, okay, well, let's say I can see that I'm at a level of reason, so I can get abstract reasoning. What's my next step? My next step is love, right? It's a feeling. My next step is love. Don't get stuck at the level of abstract reasoning, because that's not the ultimate end. That's just a phase, and it's a foundation for these higher things. And so I think probably what you're struggling with is to break through here to the level of 500, like a feeling of divine love, to really feel that. And it's a feeling. It's not rational.
Exactly. And I believe it's a week ago since I met these two people about the painting and about the print, and that was a flow of divine love and a beneficence, you know, just that wonderful feeling. And I'm aware that that's such a wonderful state to stay in, and it's been challenged. And I feel I'm quite amused, actually, more than anything. But I do feel my head's in a bit of an arm lock by the ego.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is good, because it means that there's resistance. It means that it's feeling challenged. It's defending itself, and that means that you're doing something right. You know, you're going in the right direction here. Because if it wasn't feeling challenged, then it doesn't come up with all these defenses. So it means you're pushing buttons and you're going deeper into your mind, and then, you know, you're getting the resistance, which is completely normal. That's what happens on the spiritual path. That's why it's difficult. That's why this takes sometimes many lifetimes, because there's huge resistance. You don't want to. Part of your mind doesn't want to go there, and wants you to stay at these lower levels, and wants to pull you down into you know, pride. She said, how much pride? I know that was Katie. Katie said, you know, how much pride I have. It wants to pull you into these lower levels, and you can notice that you can bounce up and down the scale quite a bit in a day. You know, you could be one moment you're feeling pretty good and pretty connected, and then the next you could feel frustrated, because what's frustration? It's a form of anger. I'm not getting this. Why am I not getting this? And then there's that anxiety, that's fear. And so, you know, you have a general level of this, and what you're trying to do is raise your general level to to a higher vibrational state, if you want to say. But that doesn't mean you're going to stay there all the time. In fact, it's completely unrealistic to think that you're going to stay there all the time, especially in the early stages of your transformation. You're probably going to bounce up and down the scale because you vacillated. The ego is going to come in, and then you might, find you spend an hour in pride or anger, and then it's, oh, hang on, just wake up, use a lesson, and then you use a lesson, and then, okay, so I've let go of that, so now I've moved up into forgiveness. I'm feeling calm and peaceful again, and then the ego might come again, and so it's this flux and this flow between the spirit and the ego, and that's the journey.
Good.
And the ego will come and it'll go, and you got to be aware when it's coming, and be able to just let it go, and let it go as quickly as possible. And in that process is your transformation. It's an ongoing work in progress. It's not like, oh, one time I do my forgiveness and then that's it. Oh, well, now I'm at the level 350, so I can just kind of no. Like just to maintain these high levels is some work, right? To maintain a state of merciful, harmonious acceptance, that you forgive everything, you transcending. That's quite a lot of work in this world.
Yeah, really.
Maintain that.
I mean, I heard, Katie, you talk about being in a close relationship. I mean, we're always in relationship. It's just the labels that we put on, but I am living in a very small space with my partner, and that's a really testing place to be. But it's when I accept it, I know that I am so much more. Everything's harmonious. I can really the difficult challenges are the ones that I'm meant to experience with him, and then I really get to look at my reaction because he's older than me, and well, the way I'm saying this is that he has had so much. He said, I don't want to be in ego. I don't want it. So when my ego sort of thrashes around like a little kid on the floor, it kind of has to burn out quite quick. Not being given the indulgence of, oh, for you, should we just have a bit more shouting, So I feel that I am being kind of hauled up, up the scale.
Well, it's good. It sounds like you've got a conscious partner who's going to hold you accountable.
Oh yeah.
And that's good. It's like, no, I don't want this. So if you're an ego, your partner says, just get out of it, man. Just wake up, girl. You're an ego. This isn't working. And I'm not particularly sympathetic to your ego. Empathy, yes. Understanding, yes. Okay, I know this is a journey, but sympathy, no, because that just indulges it.
That's it. So I have to take my ego for a walk.
Yeah. Well, that's and in the relationship, that can be great learning.
Yes.
Nothing quite pushes our buttons like a special relationship. To really make us look at ourselves, to make us look at all of this stuff coming up, arising, because it does push the buttons, and then as it arises, don't resist it. Just know that's just part of the process. It's all good. Like if I'm experiencing anxiety or fear or anger or hatred, then you can hate your partner.
Yes.
Which I want to murder you. You can have moments where you just like, and you go, okay, but notice that. Look at that. Oh my goodness, look at how much anger there still is there. Look at how much hatred, desire to separate. Look at that. And don't shy away from it, because in the looking at it, you can go, oh my goodness, there's still some deep, dark stuff there. I need to let go of that, because any hatred is really self-hatred.
I don't want to monopolize the conversation, and I'm going to have to go at 2, but I was shouting this morning, but it wasn't at Canet, it was at the radio. And I was thinking, I was in...
Okay, interesting.
Well, it was, our British Prime Minister has done something very inappropriate. He shouted at the leader of the opposition, saying that he was less occupied in trying to prosecute Jimmy Savile than, it was, and then the leader of the opposition, they tried to lynch him outside Parliament. And they got on this, the woman on the radio who works with victims of historic child abuse trauma.
Mm.
And she said one thing that just horrified me. She said, these people will never get better.
Okay.
She said, and to me, it was like condemning everybody who's had a trauma of that, okay, extreme nature, but saying, yeah, by the way, you're screwed.
Yes.
You'll
Yeah.
never get better. You will always, always live with this. Now, I'm really close to somebody who suffered 8 years of systemic abuse as a child.
Mm.
And he now is so free.
Mm.
So free, so has worked so hard. And I got I bellowed at the radio saying, not true, not true. How can you be in a position of such authority to say to so many people, woman, that they will never be free?
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Well, that's the ego, isn't it? You'll never be free of your guilt and your fear and your trauma. And so it's permanent. Your pain is permanent. There's no hope.
Exactly.
Well, that just isn't true. So
No.
it's good that you recognize that it's true. Shouting at the radio, I'm not sure that. No, but there's something in you that's saying no. That's just wrong. That's not correct. Even though you're the expert. I mean, these so-called experts. I mean, people like seriously. So these experts and everyone. Oh no, well they're the experts. They know what they're doing. Really? No. Like, look, the experts are telling us to have vaccines and I mean, just come on, like seriously.
True.
And I was told by an expert, no, well, don't appeal on your visa because you'll never win. I'm like, screw that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know?
Yeah.
So I'm doing it, and I think I will win. I think I actually will win it. But he's basically saying there's no hope. Oh well, that's just great, dude. So then what am I supposed to do if I don't appeal? Where am I going with this? I have to do a fresh appeal, which is going to cost, obviously, pay him a lot of money to help me with that, and no guarantee of success there either. And I didn't have the money to make a fresh appeal anyway. So I'm like, well, I'm just not going to listen to you. You think you're an expert? He said, if you win, then I'll bet you R1,000,000 you won't. I'm like, okay, let's see.
Yeah.
But it's just arrogance, isn't it? It's pride. It's that person saying, oh, I know it all. No, you just do not know it all. You don't know the true facts of this case. You don't know my mindset. You don't know how willing I am to do this. You don't know that I can actually argue legal things, that I spent a week on it, and I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to understand your logic, and I'm going to go for this because this needs to happen.
Yeah.
And you don't like. You can't, when people say this kind of stuff, you just got to go, seriously. You don't know.
It was very triggering. And what I heard was, no, you're the kind of person who will always be dependent on a person like me. So I'm really important and you're screwed.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's just ego. That's the unhealed healer right there. Because she's saying, no, it's not the Holy, there's no kind of Holy Spirit. There's no saving grace. You're always going to be screwed, and you're just going to have to come to someone like me for some kind of, we'll try and make it a little bit better for you. We'll do a bit of therapy and we'll try and make it a bit better. But you're gonna. So it's just keeping someone enslaved. You don't really want to free them.
True.
That's a business model. You keep someone dependent on you.
Yes.
Then you got an ongoing customer, client for life, and that's good business. But you don't call yourself a healer. Then call yourself a business person, because that's what you are.
Yeah.
And it's wrong. I mean, you can see intuitively, that that's just not, that's not right. To say to someone you cannot heal. The truth is, you can heal from anything. Doesn't matter what the trauma is.
Quite so.
You're really willing to forgive and to let go and to do this work. You can heal from anything. It's possible, and people have done it.
Of course they have.
I'm surprised no one phoned in and said, "Excuse me, actually, I'm a so-called victim of this. I'm actually fine.
Yes.
I've processed this and I've dealt with it. I'll never forget it. I mean, you don't forget it consciously. That's going to stay with you. Maybe that's what she meant. But mentally, and emotionally, I'm free of it. I don't have to. It's just like I can objectively look at that experience and go, that's not really me. But then a lot of these, unless they're coming from a spiritual perspective, then it's still ego. They're supposedly healers, but they're trying to heal within the framework of the ego. Well, that's never going to work. You're not going to heal from the framework of, oh, the illusion is real.
Yeah.
Which is why, I mean, Jesus does, he takes the Mickey out of psychotherapists quite a bit. It is, especially if you read the psychotherapy purpose, process, and practice little supplement to the course.
Do you know, I did. It was of personal interest because my dad was a psychotherapist.
Yeah.
But it was a very long time ago that I read it.
Yeah. So we'll cover that if you stick with the program. We'll get to that later in the year.
Okay.
Because it's part of the course, really. It's a supplement.
I could never understand why my father was still seeing the same person after 3 years. Even as a young child, I was like, well, have you not made him any better? You know, why is he coming still?
Yeah, but it's true. So why is he still coming after 3 years? If you haven't, like, surely a few sessions, you should be able to help the person, and they should be able to move on. Go, okay, I do 5, 10, maybe 5, 10 sessions, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like I've helped you, I've given you the tools, I've empowered you, you know, off you go. Like not every week. Like, what is that? I mean, it's a business model. I get it. It's just regular income, but like that's not healing for the person.
No, I didn't understand it. Even though I was very young, it just seemed wrong to me.
Yeah, well, you know, the children often see the truth. And
I know, I think it was very infuriating for my dad.
Probably because he's like, well, actually, what you know, my daughter's saying is that I'm not really doing my job here. I'm not actually helping this person. But maybe there's an awareness in you that, you know, this isn't right.
That's right. I believe that.
So
yeah,
you know, it's good. I guess you know, when you see the ego so strongly, you've got to forgive it yourself. So you got to look at, yes, this isn't correct, but I don't have to have a kind of strong emotional reaction towards this. That's really the key.
Yeah.
Because if you make it real, you see, the emotion makes it real. That's outrageous. How can that woman say that? Oh, and now what I feel is a little bit of anger coming in. Oh, the ego just got you, hasn't it?
Yes, it did.
It just got you straight into anger.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not where you want to be. So, like, notice it. The key to this is observe. Yeah, notice. All right. So that's just out of integrity. You know, that's not correct. It's not true. It's false. It's simply false. But do I need to get angry about it? No, because in truth, the truth has never been threatened. The truth is still true. The woman can rattle on all she likes about her false ideas. It's just false. It has no meaning or reality. You know, nothing I see means anything. And I've given it all the meaning it has for me. Right there. You know, that's what you did. You gave it a meaning because it still pushed your buttons. It's like outrageous. How can she say that? But in fact, like, no, it's just understand it's the ego's falsity. And yes, the ego is just false, and that's what it does. And once you understand it, don't expect anything different from it. That's what it is. That's what it does. And so why am I outraged by it? It's like, no, it's just more ego. It's okay. It's fine. I just don't have to I don't have to give it any headspace. I don't have to believe this woman at all. And you turn off the radio. It's like nonsense. Complete rubbish. Boris Johnson, complete rubbish. Insane madness. You know, all of this, they want to lynch the opposition member. Who wants to lynch him? The Conservatives.
No, it was a mob in the street who called him a pedo.
Right. The mob outside Parliament want to lynch the leader of the opposition in England. Wow. Okay. And
then he got bundled into a police car for his safety.
That's interesting. So it just shows you, like, so-called civilized society, and yet, you know, people want to murder. They want to murder the guy.
Yeah, they want to string him.
Because you think he's a pedophile, but you don't have no evidence of that. That's just total assumption.
Yeah.
Has he been convicted of that in a court of law? Is there evidence to support that?
He was a director of public prosecution, and the Prime Minister accused of him not doing his job and bringing Jimmy Savile to book when he was in a position perhaps to do so.
And so therefore he's a pedophile. How does that work? Yes. The mind is extraordinary, isn't it? You go to people like, how do you get that? And now people are actually going to show up. Presumably they took time off work or doing other things. You're going to show up to go and try and lynch this guy. You're going to stand outside Parliament and you're going to try and physically murder someone. I mean, what a use of your time. Can you not think of anything better to do?
Wow. Mad.
It is crazy. So you just got to look at the insanity of it and go, I mean, and Jesus is telling us over and over in the course, look, this is just an insane world. It's just crazy. People are completely nuts. You've lost the plot. It's a total inversion of truth. And don't expect sanity here. You're not going to see it very often. You'll see glimpses of it, maybe. The Holy Spirit can reinterpret things, and you can, yes, you can. Those are the miracles. But like generally, in the general chaos of life, there's no sanity. These people are mad. And our leaders are as mad as anyone else. They're completely bonkers.
Yes.
And they think that they're right, and their thought system is correct and true. And it's not. You're just false. You're not even Boris Johnson. I mean, if you don't even know who you are, how can you lead anyone anyway? You don't know who you are. So why are you in a leadership position? You think you're this character called Boris Johnson with all of the, beliefs and hang-ups and whatever going on. And now you're leading a country. Oh my God, what a disaster. Why would anyone follow that? And so, this kind of teaching really frees you from all of that, because you're just like, God, that's just a load of BS. I don't care what the person's position is.
Yeah.
The president of this, prime minister of this, like, do they really understand? Are they really on a spiritual level? How high are they? Where are they spiritually? Because that's the only determinant. The true leaders in history have been the ones on a higher spiritual level. And people will follow them because they recognize there's wisdom and there's love and there's kindness and there's compassion. And that is earned. You can't do that by playing dirty politics. That's spiritual transformation and growth that has to happen. So, the only politician that recently I can really think of is Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
But then he went through this profound transformation process of 27 years in prison to accomplish that. He had to go through that process of really, you can imagine the depth of the soul searching that went on in those 27 years. And he had all this time. It was almost like he was living a spiritual, like a monk for 27 years, because he had his little cell and he'd do his work, and then he was allowed to read, and he had this time to read and contemplate and reflect. And fortunately, he used that time very constructively to do that. And he came out a transformed human being.
Yes.
But without the 27 years in prison, it probably wouldn't have happened.
No, exactly. I think he was meant to be there.
Yeah, it was perfect preparation for coming out and then going, okay, now you're going to lead this country through this transition, which could have been very painful and very violent, to peace. And he did successfully. It was amazing, quite extraordinary transformation, just because he held to the ideal of forgiveness. He said, forgiveness is how this is going to happen. Yeah. Forgiveness and reconciliation are the principles of how I'm going to govern. And
yes, it's an spread in the world.
Yeah. So, and that was pretty extraordinary. It doesn't normally happen that people do that. You listen to most leaders, it's like, no, it's judgment, it's guilt, it's, we will never forgive, we'll never forget, we will attack them, we'll, et cetera, et cetera. And Nelson's saying, no, we must forgive, we must let this go. And he got resistance from his own wife. He split from his wife because of that. Yeah. Because he was really angry. She was at anger.
Yes.
And she wanted revenge. And he's going, no, Winnie, this is not right. She's saying the people want revenge. He's saying, no, the people are wrong. The people are wrong. The people need leadership. The people need to be led into a higher state of mind by someone leading by example. And he was it. So you just see this country would have been so different if we hadn't had two people, because there was a F.W. de Klerk on the other side, who was also able to go into these higher states of awareness and say, okay, we must find a way to come together. We must find a way, and we must find peace, because a bloody conflict is not going to serve anyone. And so, they were willing to let go. The Afrikaners were willing to let go of power. They were saying, okay, we're willing to let it go. We're willing to hand it over peacefully rather than fight for this. Extraordinary, really. It just hasn't happened in history before. But it shows you the power of these states. You get two people in these states who are in a position of power. They really can change the world, and it happened. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen too often. And now, honestly, there's no leadership in this. You look at you know, can you think of any politician who's a visionary, who's got true leadership qualities?
I'm interested to see what Marianne Williamson will do next.
Yeah, well, she was trying to get there, but yeah, I mean, how do you like being in a position like that? How would you actually live according to these higher values? How? When you're being asked to make all kinds of, you know, judgments. I mean, like, you know, what happens if they ask you to press the red button, or you've got to, you know, you've got to authorize an attack on Osama bin Laden, and you know, these kinds of, it's like, oh, like, why would you want to even put yourself in a position to have to make those decisions? So I doubt she'll. I mean, she's not going to get there. She's too out the box to become formal. But then, like, I don't think that, like, looking to formal leadership is not going to save us. Looking to those structures is not the way.
I think the structure is wrong. I think
yeah, exactly. The whole construct's wrong. So how can you expect, you know, higher consciousness and enlightenment within that deeply dysfunctional structure?
Yeah,
It just doesn't. And in fact, the two presidents who've really had a little bit of higher consciousness both got assassinated.
yeah. Oh, Olaf Palme in Sweden. He was a spiritual leader and he died.
Yeah. Did he also get assassinated?
Yes, in 86.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happens. People just take them out because it's like, no, you know, you're in a position of power and you're trying to really change the system, and then you just get taken out because it's like, you know, the ego's like, we'll just kill you. We don't like your opposition. We don't like what you're trying to do. So, you know, that's the program. So I think it's, you know, the leadership's going to come from elsewhere, and we need another system. Like, you're not going to find it from politicians. They're too entrenched in the structure.
Yeah.
And it would be too threatening personally, even if you wanted to do it. To start doing this, you're going to get so much pushback from the powers that be, from your party. Like, how would you do that? How would you actually, within that structure, lead people in a positive direction? It's almost impossible, one might say, because the ego has got such a strong investment in its story.
But it has been done.
It's going to come from outside of that, and you know, it's people like us who well, why can't, you know, with the systems available, IT, why can't we create another system? Why not? It's all doable. It's possible. The technology's there. It's available to anyone. This technology. You know, these things. These are the most powerful things ever invented, because they're communication devices for transforming people's minds. You can transmit information. I mean, look at what's coming down the line to you via these devices. It's extraordinary. You're getting meditations. You're getting like quotes. You're getting like all kinds of information and inspiration to change your mind via these communication devices. So that's like hugely powerful. And you know, that and so that's going to be the salvation of the world. People will change their minds, and we just create some ways of cooperating to do that. Yeah, I don't think the system's going to last more than 10 years. I think it's doomed.
You're right about that.
I think, yeah, I mean, they're going to try and create another system.
5 years, he's saying.
It's not sustainable, and people are shifting and changing, and you know, there's the kind of technology that's available. I mean, someone like me, give me $1 million. Geez, man, I could do some stuff, man, with $1 million. So I'm working on it. You know what I mean? Because you've got capacity with this kind of technology to do extraordinary stuff, to get a message out there that just was not available 20 years ago, even. So, like, why not? And I don't think the system cannot sustain against that kind of you know, higher consciousness really coming in a focused, directed way. Like, you know, not a hey chihuahua. It's like, no, actually being able to get stuff right and do. If you look at the integral model, like, you have this intention, but then you go, okay, well, why don't we create a community where we can all engage consciously and we can transact with each other, alternative currency. So I set the intention, then I create a system that enables that, and that's doable with not actually that much. You don't need to be a multinational corporate to do that. You can now do it from scratch you know, with some good coders, you can do it. Just a few people can do it. So,
Well,
wow.
that's how the mentor community began.
Yeah, just a few people saying, okay, we have a conscious intention, and now we're going to get together and we're going to create, you know, there's a system and a structure to it. And it's now, you know, it's worldwide. It's known worldwide. It was an example for other people. So why can't we do this? And how can these existing systems and structures sustain against this new energy, spiritual energy coming in that's focused and directed? Like if you can actually focus this and direct it into behavior and systems that work better than the current system, why wouldn't people just flock to it? Why wouldn't they adopt it en masse? Because it works better. As Buckminster Fuller said, he said, no, don't try and fight an existing system. That's never going to work. Just create a system that works better and make it redundant.
Good.
And you know, that's kind of the opportunity for all of us. And what an exciting time. I'm just like, wow, that's pretty amazing. What an amazing time to be alive, that, you know, you can be part of this great global transformation and you know, play an active role, and therein lies your purpose and your special function in this world. So that's kind of exciting. That gets me up every morning. You're like part of that process. Yes, it's an illusion, but if you're awakening in the dream and you feel that awakening happen, the quickening, it's like, wow, this is amazing. What a time to be alive. And I can be part of this process of everyone awakening. You feel the extension and expansion, and you're going like, well, what else am I going to do with my life? What other purpose is there really? It kind of leads us into our higher purpose. We're going to cover that later in the course, but it's all leading into it. You know, it's all part of the thought system. Okay, so you got to go in half an hour. Let's just have a quick look at the 11th pathway, and then we'll look at the lesson and go into meditation.
Okay, 10 minutes on each then.
Yeah, something like that. We'll do it quickly.
Okay.
So you want to read, I'm constantly aware?
I'm constantly aware of which of the 7 centers of consciousness I'm using, and I feel my energy, perceptiveness, love, and inner peace growing as I open all of the centers of consciousness.
Okay, makes sense.
It does.
So you know what the centers of consciousness are, what he's referring to?
Yes, the energy wheels within the body.
The chakras.
Yeah.
And just saying, well, be aware of where you're coming from. So it's another system of awareness, almost like, you know, David Hawkins' scale. It's like, okay, well, where am I at? And these levels sort of do correspond to the chakras.
Yeah.
So that the lower levels, you're like base chakra, then desire is 2nd chakra, anger and pride are 3rd chakra. Up you go into forgiveness, goes into the heart, letting go, acceptance, heart center, expression, abstraction, reason, probably throat chakra. 3rd eye starts to go into higher vision, and then enlightenment would be the 7th, crown chakra. So just another kind of level construct to understand it, to say, okay, well, let me be understanding where I'm coming from here. Okay. And obviously, you know, that you can see this has got roots in Eastern wisdom. He didn't just come up with this from scratch. He's pulled from you know, probably Vedanta and Buddhism. You can see lots of Buddhist teachings coming in here, and just framed it into this particular format of the 12 pathways. Okay, so Katie, do you want to read number 2 for us, paragraph 2, please?
Yeah. In living love?
No, just one. The seven centers of consciousness.
The 7 centers of consciousness, which correspond with the 7 chakras or energy centers of Eastern tradition, consist of a 7-step scale that can tell you each moment of your life exactly where you are in your journey toward higher consciousness. As you learn to upscale your consciousness, you unlock enormous energy. You enjoy being able to unconditionally love and accept everyone. By letting yourself grow toward higher standards of consciousness, you find the beautiful inner peace that you have always sought in your life, but that may have been frustratingly elusive to stay in until now. Stay in until now in your journey.
Okay.
What are these 7 centers of consciousness? Is that what you
Well,
right now were talking about? The 7
it's
chakras?
the 7 chakras, yeah. As he says, it's the 7 chakras or energy centers, which correspond with a state of consciousness, a state of mind. So each one represents a level of our awareness. And depending on where you get rooted, some people might say, well, you're stuck in your 2nd chakra. So if you're an addict, for instance, desire runs your life, then you'd say, okay, it's you're rooted in your 7th chakra. Your awareness is stuck there. And so it's just another way of becoming aware of where you're at. Very similar.
How do I come from the 4th, like heart chakra, to the 5th?
We'll discuss that later in the course, but your higher purpose, which is exercise 9, is an expression, you see. The throat chakra is expression. So it's feeling the love, and then being willing to express it takes you up into that expression mode. So then you speak it and you write it. You started to do it yesterday because you actually expressed it and you sent that poetry out. So that's now expression, isn't it? So it's like the love wants to extend through you. So what you do is you do it. If the love wants to extend and you feel the call, and then you do it, and you keep doing it, and you keep showing up, and in doing it, and then you move into more of an expression.
And I go then. I go then to the 6th chakra by looking at all these expressions as something from the physical world and doing it without attachment, because it's about the spiritual side, like the 3rd eye, the single eye, which knows no differences.
So starting to true perception, true vision, spiritual vision, and also a higher vision for your life. So part of your higher purpose is also going, well, I'm part of this great awakening, and my purpose here is to be truly useful and truly helpful in that. And so now I have a much more expansive vision of my life and what's possible than before.
Seeing without opposite, like we have 2 eyes, like right and left, and then the 3rd eye is like just one single focus. No.
So that would be a single point of focus, a single vision. And if you think about, say, the great avatars like Jesus and Buddha, they had a focus, right? They had a purpose, and they changed the world because they were so tuned into that, and they just were willing to let the Spirit express through them in the service of that single purpose, which was to be the teacher of God and to awaken people. That was their purpose, and we're all here to do that. So then it's like, okay, well, how does that express through you? How does the Holy Spirit show you that expanded vision of your life, and then get you to just focus on that? Say, right, Katie, just do that. Don't worry about anything else. Just focus on that, and I will take care of it. But you need to be single-pointed in your focus. Don't waver. Don't go back into the ego, because the ego is always going to try and distract you. And then at the higher level, it's super conscious. It's just like you're in bliss, samadhi state.
Is that the 7th chakra?
Yeah, that sort of symbolizes you're really just very, very close to heaven, man. You're in this sort of blissed out state, and often not really wanting to do very much. But you can move through these levels, so you don't have to stay just in your 3rd eye. You can have that experience. You can have go into bliss for a while in your meditation, and you come back, and then you drop into your 5th chakra, which is expression. Okay, now I'm writing poetry. So so it's multidimensional, right? If you can access all of the chakras, multi-dimensional being. Okay, well, that's appropriate now. Yeah, it would be helpful to be expressive now, so then I can be expressive.
And it's like they are all activated at the end. They can be all activated at the same time, like they're building one channel, And then it's just about what to, then you can't say, oh, now you're using you're using your fifth chakra because you write problems. No, because all are activated, so all energy is centered, and it's like it's centered everywhere because it's not in the truth.
Yeah, well, I guess, pure enlightenment would be every chakra is wide open, and the spirit's just using you. You're the avatar. That's the divine energy is just pouring through you, and it's expressing however it needs to express, moment by moment. That's the avatar state. So if you need a word, as Jesus says, it'll give you a word. If you need a thought, it'll give you a thought. If you need an action, it'll get you to take the action, and you're just being done through. It's not really you who's doing it. As I say in this quote, I don't know if you read this. We really don't have time to go through all of this, but read this if you haven't read it. Like the idea of surrendering to spirit, getting out of this human condition of being lost in thought. That's really what we're trying to do, and surrender to the spirit that just it can use it all of the chakras, all of the abilities. It's all there, and you just open for it to use you in whatever way, and whatever's appropriate then comes, and that's that's a limitless state of being to live in, because you're not, you see what you've done. You've collapsed all of the addictions, and there's only preferences now. It's like, okay, well, maybe I have a preference for that, but I'm just guided moment by moment as to where I should go, what I should do, how I should express this loving energy, and that's a very present, very awake state of mind. You're not being conditioned by the past. So you've dropped that past conditioning, which is what these lessons are trying to do. I see only the past. I see nothing as it is now. It's trying to drop that conditioning, that program, so you can be totally free and open to this divine energy, which is only present, coming through, and then that directs the program.
I have that feeling that when I put my energy on my heart center, and I remember that someone told me that all the lower end chakras, like the blocks from the lower level of chakras I created, they are transcended in the heart chakra. And I feel like if I allow the energy there to flow effortlessly without resistance, it will be like there will be energy accumulated which wants to turn upwards. Like there's this desire, like because it's one channel, and then the flow is to go upwards. It's naturally, I don't have
to express and extend through you.
Yeah.
And then it's allowing that in whatever form. So it might be poetry. In Iona's case, it might be art. There's so many ways that it can flow through, and don't block that flow, because if you block the flow, then you're actually stopping. You're breaking your connection with the source, because the source wants to flow. So as you give it and it flows through you, you receive more of it. That's how it works. As you give, you receive. I think you're muted, Iona. So
thank you. Yeah.
It's allowing it to come through, and don't block it. If you feel like it wants to express through you, then let it express. Well, I was listening to Eckhart Tolle, and when he said, when he wrote The Power of Now, he said, this book wanted to be written through me. That's how he explained it. It wanted to come into existence through me. And he said, if I hadn't done it, the energy was so intense. If I hadn't done it, I probably would have got sick or something, because it's just too much. It has to come through and express.
Well, this is how I feel when I don't paint.
Yeah.
I get sick and anxious, but almost it's a daily battle between now. My commitment to battles is over expressing it, but this is many hours in every day that I otherwise would be painting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel directed to do this, and I know that all that I put in now in these hours will flow through the painting when I get to the studio after this.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're now going deep within. You kind of doing the inner work to connect with source, and then okay, now I can express and extend. So it's being in the flow of that dynamic of, yes, I'm resting and I'm going within, I'm connecting with source, And then, yes, there's a time for extension and flow. And those two are not contradictory. It's just different movements of the spirit in you. So we talked about it yesterday, Katie, with the idea that, well, you just want to meditate and you don't want to do anything. You don't necessarily want to write poetry. But they're not contradictions. It's just two sides of the same coin. So the deep meditation is great, and you can do that. And then you can come out and you can write, inspired poetry because you've had a connection. And that's how the great poets would write their poetry. They would do deep meditation and contemplation, have the experience, and then they'd write about it in their mystic poetry. And so it's all part of the same process, just different aspects of just the different aspects of your being. That
was resistance. I spoke from the ego. Didn't mean anything what I said yesterday about it.
Yeah. But you will get resistance, and notice that. But then just be willing to say, okay, that resistance is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. It's just my thoughts do not mean anything. I'm just willing to drop it, let it go, and surrender to this. If it's an impulse, you need to determine what are the impulses from the spirit and what are the impulses from the ego. This is the learning.
What is the I have a specific question, because I do struggle with this. I could allow spirit to flow in my studio, and I can sit here and take in many hours of spiritual guidance, which is wonderful. But I also need to update my website because somebody's told me that some images are not showing. I don't want to do that. To me, but I need to show what I can do out in the world. And there's a bit of a ping pong battle inside.
Yeah.
And then there's an application to write for some funding. I don't want to do that either.
You'd rather do the nice stuff.
Well, I can call it nice stuff, or I could call it essential, because I feel that spirit is making time for me to do this.
Yeah. So that's good. And then I guess, the other things, maybe you just put them on hold for a bit, but ultimately, I suppose you got to get to them. So then you're like, okay, well, just do it. I mean, last night I had to do an addendum to my visa application. So I'm like, okay, we'll just do it. I wouldn't choose to, I'd prefer to be doing other things. But you when you're powerful in life is when you can go into a state of acceptance. So Eckhart Tolle talks about 3 levels of conscious doing. Acceptance being just level 1, because if you're not at acceptance, then you're in resistance. That's the alternative to acceptance is resistance. So even if it's something like, let's say you got the funding application, okay, it's maybe not, you can't say I actively enjoy this, but I can accept it and I can just do it.
Yeah.
I can just get into a mode where I just do it and the resistance is dropped, and it can kind of that can actually take you into enjoyment, because enjoyment is the next level. It's possible, but through acceptance, you can then have a feeling of joy. It's something you go, oh, actually, I'm quite enjoying this. And you finish it and you go, oh, actually, in hindsight, I actually did quite enjoy that, because it's quite satisfying to have done it. And I feel like I've accomplished something and it's necessary. And so, yeah, but you probably won't start there. So you got to start just with an acceptance. Okay. Which means a dropping of the resistance. Acceptance means you've let go of the resistance. So letting go and acceptance go hand in hand. Can't do one without the other. And then you can move into a very powerful state, because you can just do stuff. Like I don't really have resistance. I just do it. If I need to do something, I just do it. Because okay, this needs to be done. It feels right. Okay, don't go into analyzing why I have to do this. It's just like, okay, just sort it out. Just do it. And then you it's still conscious doing. And you might find in the doing of that, there is a kind of a flow. You feel, there's some kind of deeper satisfaction in doing these things, just because you're in the right state of mind. So as the resistance arises and you observe it, just go, okay, well, why don't you just drop it and just do it? Just get into it, start doing it, and then go with the process. And if you go with the process, you find that you probably get into a flow with it, and you end up finishing it, or nearly finished. Just, oh, okay, well, and so then that becomes part of your learning. You know, your website updating and your grant funding. It's all part of learning. It's a spiritual lesson. So there's nothing that's not your spiritual practice. It's all of your spiritual practice.
Good. Yeah.
That's what you start to realize. It's all part of this process, and the Spirit's using all of it. So it's not like I'm not being spiritual when I'm updating my website. No, I am actually. If I'm letting go of my resistance and I'm just doing it, then I'm applying these teachings, and that's exactly then what the Spirit wants me to do. So it's all part of my my unfolding journey of at-one-ment.
Good.
Which is a lovely way to look at it. And then, like, everything has its place and its purpose, even the seemingly not nice things, the difficult things. Well, yes, it still has a place and a purpose. Okay, so moving swiftly on to number 3. Do you want to read the third paragraph?
So in Living Love, we work to integrate all of the centers of consciousness. Everything in your life has aspects of all the centers. You begin your growth towards higher consciousness when you first escape from being preoccupied with the lower 3 centers of security, sensation, and power, and upscale your consciousness to include the Unconditional Love Center and the Cornucopia Center. Then you begin to watch your drama from the Conscious Awareness Center. By seeing your drama from this center, you impartially witness all of your thoughts and actions on the 5 lower centers. In the next phase of consciousness growth, one goes behind this conscious awareness center into the 7th center, cosmic consciousness, that peaceful place where one has eliminated personal ego boundaries and has what is that word?
Unitively. Yeah.
Unitively merged with all that truly is. Amazing. Yeah.
He's giving us a little kind of rundown of the how this can work with the different chakras and the different, just another system for personal growth to understand, okay, yes, I've got these 5 lower centers, and then I start to become more and more aware. So the 6th chakra is the conscious awareness center. So I'm aware but without attachment. And then that prepares you for the 7th, which is just emerging into what's been called a superconscious state. Of course, we'd call that spirit. You're just immersed in the spirit. You are one with your own pure formless awareness. So he's using consciousness, but Jesus would call that, the spirit. It's because it's beyond any separate idea. You even beyond it, at true enlightenment, you beyond the super ego, not just your personal ego. You're beyond all of it. You're beyond time and space entirely. There's no construct of separation left in your mind. That's the revelation experience.
Yeah.
You completely transcended all boundaries and all limits, not just personal ones. The entire thing disappears. The entire construct of time and space in the true revelation just disappears, and you're in pure formless awareness, and that's all there is. So this is just pointing us in that direction. Okay, so have a little look at the lesson, shall we? So this is my thoughts do not mean anything. So let's just read 3 paragraphs, and then I'll take you into a very short practice. So do you want to read paragraph 1, Katie?
I want to read it in German for myself.
Okay, you do that. So maybe Iona, you read it.
This idea applies to all the thoughts of which you are aware or become aware in the practice periods. The reason the idea is applicable to all of them is that they are not your real thoughts. We have made this distinction before and will do so again. You have no basis for comparison as yet. When you do, you will have no doubt that what you once believed were your thoughts did not mean anything. Yeah.
So it's revisiting lesson number 4.
Yeah.
Again, slightly different form. Instead of these thoughts, it's my thoughts. Do not mean anything.
Oh, yeah.
So any thought that you're aware of is applicable. Okay, so no exceptions. So when you start to come into understanding, you have no basis for comparison as yet, but when you do, you'll have no doubt what you once believed were your thoughts didn't mean anything. So saying, look, this is baby steps. You're just warming up to this. Just go with the process because more understanding will come. We're only at lesson 10.
Okay, good. That's all very reassuring.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the second. Katie, do you want to read paragraph 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the second time we have used this kind of idea. The form is only slightly different. This time the idea is introduced with my thoughts instead of these thoughts. And no link is made overtly with the things around you. The emphasis is now on the lack of reality of what you think you think.
Okay. Makes sense. Just he's focusing now on pure thought. Just looking at your thoughts differently. And I'll read the third one. This aspect of the correction process began with the idea that the thoughts of which you are aware are meaningless, outside rather than within, and then stress their past rather than their present status. Now we're emphasizing the presence of these thoughts means that you are not thinking. This is merely another way of repeating our earlier statement that your mind is really a blank. To recognize this is to recognize nothingness when you think you see it. As such, it is the prerequisite for vision. So he's saying we're not really thinking at all. We're thinking in time, space, subject, object. These are not really true thoughts. So our mind is just really a blank, and actually these thoughts are nothing. Again, yeah, pretty radical. It's like all my thoughts mean nothing. Okay, then. Right. How do I process that exactly? But yeah, he's asking you to just practice and say, well, just practice applying these ideas, applying these lessons, and as you do that, you will start to get more and more understanding. Okay, so should we go into a quick practice? Only got a few minutes, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting your feet shoulder width apart. Cup your hands in your lap, keep your back straight, close your eyes, and just take a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing into the lower stomach, blowing the stomach out like a balloon, clenching the sphincter muscle. Second phase of the breath, draw it into the heart center, put one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. Draw it up into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. It's a maximal inhale breath. And in this gap, in the space that feeling, just notice what's going on. So repeat today's idea, say, my thoughts do not mean anything. To observe these thoughts, just coming and going in your mind. Remind yourself this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. So just scan your mind, notice any thoughts that are crossing it. Try to avoid classification of any kind. In fact, you find it helpful to do this. You can imagine that you're watching an oddly assorted procession going by, which has little, if any, personal meaning to you. Just breathe in again, create some space with the breath, just creating this spacious awareness in which you can observe these thoughts. So imagine that these thoughts are just like kind of these weird characters, kind of proceeding across the landscape of your mind. And you're just observing them objectively. They don't really have any personal meaning to you. You're not attached to them at all. So as each one crosses your mind, just say, my thought about whatever or whoever does not mean anything. And again, another one comes, maybe you look at it, observe it casually and say, my thought about this does not mean anything. And as you exhale, you're just going to use the breath to help you to let go of any attachment. If you notice any kind of mental, emotional attachment to the thought, just exhale and have a sense of releasing it, just blowing it away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness that it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And then you just rest here for a few moments in the peace and stillness lies in the gap between breaths. Remind yourself that my thoughts really do not mean anything. And try and anchor the state in. So whatever you're feeling now, maybe just a bit calmer, more peaceful, more released, in an empty state. Observe how your mind can just be empty but aware. Let's take a few deep breaths, nice deep slow inhales and exhales through your nose to just anchor the state of higher awareness. Kind of an empty, open, spacious awareness, expansive awareness. So notice that state, anchor it in, saying, set the intention that this is going to sustain. So you open your eyes and you come back into your normal conscious awareness, senses and the world, and you retain this connection to this pure formless awareness. And this will guide your thoughts and your words and your actions for the rest of the afternoon, on into the evening. So it is said, and so it is done. So you can use this mind training exercise with any thought that distresses you at any time. Just do it in a 30-second or minute breath break, or you can listen to the recording that I've sent. I'll send another one after this, just to top you up. If you're feeling at all negative, any kind of difficult thought or emotion, then just use this idea to let it go. And only needs to take half a minute or less if you experience discomfort. And remember to repeat the idea slowly before applying it specifically, and also to add that this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. Okay, so that brings us to the open your eyes, brings us to the end of the short breath break. That was only 5 minutes, and the session. So thank you, Iona and Katie, for joining, and I hope to see you a bit later.
Thank you, that was great.
Okay, my pleasure. Namaste.
Thank
Namaste.
you.
Okay, see you later.
See you later.
See you later. Bye bye. Oh, maybe I don't know if I can join later, because
Okay.